You are Locked On Kraken, your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what do you say, Seattle hockey fans? Welcome to another episode of Locked On Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we bring you your favorite team, the Seattle Kraken, every single day. My name is Erica L. Ayala. I am here with Zaiem, and I've got two cameras.
Hey, Erica, I don't think anyone can hear you. I can't hear you. Can you guys hear me? So, I am not sure what the setup was, but we can talk about this preview coming up against the Devils. I'm wearing my Philip Grubauer shirt, Gru shirt, because he's going to be playing today. And so the thing I want to wade into the waters a little bit about the Grubauer discourse. And look, the game that he just had, where he gave up 7 goals or 8 goals, whatever it was, because they couldn't pull him because it was on the front end of a back-to-back, that absolutely tanked his season-long rankings. He's only had 7 starts, and so now he's near the bottom. He's still not at the bottom, but near the bottom of goal save above expected for NHL goalies. But prior to that, he was like a league average goaltender. And so I think that there is a lot more vitriol directed towards Philip Grubauer than is necessary. And the reason is, so he's had 7 starts. In 3 of those, he has had a save percentage above 900. And in all 3, the Kraken were shut out. So Grubauer goal support has been an issue. It's been a meme. We've had lots of jokes about it. In 2 of the other losses, he gave up 3 goals, which, isn't great. But Joey's also had 3 wins this season where he gave up 3 or more goals and had the win. So the goal support for Grubauer hasn't been there. And people look at the win-loss record and they go, oh, he's 1-6. But he hasn't been playing that badly, with the last game accepted. So I just want to put a little bit of faith in Grubauer being a league average goalie. I don't think he is going to be, a Vezina caliber goalie, which is what the Kraken thought they were getting when they signed him. But, he had an outlier bad game, and he wouldn't have given up that many goals if they had been able to pull him. And that's the other thing, too, is, when a goalie is having a bad night, he's letting a lot of goals, they get pulled, the guy comes in, they stop the bleeding. They couldn't do that because they're on a back-to-back, and you can't put Joey in because then that increases the risk of Joey getting hurt, and this team absolutely cannot go anywhere if Joey Decor does get hurt. Erica, I see your face is back on the screen, and we hear what you're saying.
Me? Can you hear
we
me?
Can hear you.
All right. I don't know what's going on, but interesting that you started with Philip Grubauer, because I did want to talk about that. I just think the writing is on the wall. I actually just came back from the media scrum, and I was talking to one of the beat reporters, and I was kind of questioning, why not give Philip Grubauer yesterday's start against the New York Islanders as opposed to this game against the Devils in a back-to-back. And it was interesting to get the perspective that some people felt yesterday's game, maybe just because of the timing, and then of course going into the Rangers game also on Sunday, that was more of the must-win game. And then if you give Philip Grubauer this game tonight, then that means you have a rested Joey Decord for Sunday. But I hear what you're saying regarding Philip Grubauer. The last start was not great. The goalie support has not been there. And it just it's one of those things, kind of like Andre Burakovsky, who's someone else that I want to talk about. And I will just get all of the spoilers out of the way since I was just in the scrum and I already had some technical issues, so I don't want to lose track of anything again. Philip Grubauer will start. We will also see the return of Andre Burakovsky as well as Riker Evans. So we're going to get into some of that. But I think with Philip Grubauer, it's just a really interesting situation and scenario right now. That last start for me, Zaiem, felt also a little bit like, and this is something that you and I have talked about, that I talk about on Locked On Kraken, when you don't give a goalie a start, in theory, right? And I've been a bench player before. In theory, you should, bench players should always be ready, but also you lose your rhythm. And I think for goaltending especially, that can be difficult. So not a great start. Kind of seems like the writing might be on the wall with Philip Grubauer, but also there have been a lot of circumstances that, let's just say, have not made it easy for Philip Grubauer with the Seattle Kraken.
Yeah, that's a good point. And Striatic made that observation as well. And he said that, right, maybe he's not a goalie that handles rust well. And I think Grubauer is in particular something that he does not handle, or he's a little slower to adapt. When he signed as a free agent in Colorado after being the backup in Washington, it took like half a season for him to get to being a pretty good goaltender. And then when he signed with Seattle, of course, the inaugural year with the COVID and all that stuff, it's really hard. But he has generally tended to finish stronger than he started over the course of the season. And I wonder if Grubauer is just someone who needs to see what's in front of him in order to adapt. And if he's not getting those reps, then he is more sensitive to rest than rest and rust than maybe somebody else. But if he gets a little bit extra work, he can creep back towards maybe being a little bit above average.
Yeah, and I don't think that I think that the Seattle Kraken could have found more games for Philip Grubauer. So again, that's going to be interesting. And the goal support, we've talked about it. I just don't understand it. I don't know what it is. It's definitely a blemish now for Philip Grubauer, and it makes it hard to justify his contract, especially when, even as of today, Zaiem, the Predators recently have made a goalie trade. I believe, there was another goalie trade just today. So, people are moving goaltenders in the middle of seasons. Now, we've talked about whether we think that's likely for the Seattle Kraken. I still think it's probably not likely. But if you're not going to move him, even if you are going to move him, finding more starts for Philip Grubauer sounds like something that the Kraken might need to do. But then you have the balance of the stats don't lie, and they're just saying that the goal support isn't there. So we'll get a chance to see how that all plays in tonight. I know my audio is bad. Thanks for bearing with us. I'm here live at Prudential Center. This is a live show with Zaiem Begg of Davy Jones Locker Room. I'm Erica L. Ayala, your host, of course, of Locked On Kraken. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But, I know that we had on the rundown also to talk about the right stuff. And that, of course, is the Shane Wright line. The power play has been better. We have Oliver Bjorkstrand on a 7-game point streak. Ellie Tolvanen is getting fancy. I put some, post-game clips up on our YouTube page that Ollie Bjorkstrand talked yesterday about Ellie Tolvanen just kind of feeling and finding his stride. Zaiem, what have you seen from that line since they were reunited? And there was that one game where they got taken – that they got broken apart. I didn't like that too much. But what have you liked about the right line, that being Ellie Tolvanen, Shane Wright, and Oliver Bjorkstrand?
I think the thing that has been really striking about that line is the tenacity. Mm-hmm. And, it has been, I don't think it's a coincidence that both Shane Wright and Oliver Bjorkstrand were healthy scratched. And they have come back with so much fury and intensity and intentionality and going in and having that perpetual underdog mindset. I think even against the Islanders, who, they have 10 million injuries and they're not a very good team right now, the Kraken really seemed to be like, hey, we're the underdogs here, and we can't give anybody any inch, the same way they did against Carolina, right? Who's a much better team, but then the Kraken are like, all right, you know what, you just got to bring it. And I think that intensity is showing up with things like, then it translates on the ice with like winning puck battles and just doing the little things, walling off defenders and beating players to the spot. And then you really saw it in this last game against the Islanders, because the Kraken just had the puck. It felt like the entire game. I mean, the Islanders could not get possession of the puck at all. It was awesome. And that was especially true when the right line was on. And then, then what Shane Wright has done for the power play is he has rescued it was it 22 in a row, I think, that the Kraken had gone.
Yeah, something wild. Definitely 20 plus for sure. Yeah.
It was at least 22, because I remember using a Taylor Swift graphic in the social media. And so then they go 2 for 2 against the Islanders, and I mean, granted, the Islanders have a terrible penalty kill, but the Kraken have terrible power play. So
right, yep.
But yeah, Shane Wright has been kind of a hero, and he's just come back with such a vengeance, and he's been so productive both on the score sheet and then also with the little things since a healthy scratch. And so I'm really curious. I was surprised. So you say Andre Burakovsky is coming back tonight, huh?
That is correct. I was looking at my notes, looking for my notes here, so I could give you the direct quote. But Andre Burakovsky is actually going to slide in where Yanni Gourde was. So that's going to be on the Matty Beniers line, which is another line I have been obsessed with. I like Yanni with Matty B, but to get to the point there about Yanni before we talk about Andre Burakovsky, who we had already scheduled to talk about, so we'll do that in the next segment in a little more detail, what we want to see from him. But the story with Yanni Gourde is that it seems like he's dealing with a little bit more than maintenancing, as we've heard from Dan Bylsma in the past, a little bit more than maintenancing, not full-blown, truly concerning injury just yet, but because the team's on a back-to-back, because they're playing the Rangers on Sunday, they know they have another game and a rest day in between. It seemed like from our conversation with Dan Bylsma just minutes ago that this was an opportunity to give him a little bit of rest. Andre Burakovsky can come back into the lineup, and then we see what happens from there. But coming up on this live episode of Locked on Kraken, we're going to talk about Andre Burakovsky, and then Zaiem. I also want to talk a little bit about Vince Dunn, and then Zaiem and I will give you our keys to the game as we get you ready for puck drop here at Prudential Center. And now I have to find the graphics here, because doing shows live, I haven't done a live show for Locked on Kraken in quite some time. But you know what? I can edit this later. So today's episode of Locked on Kraken is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. We know it's the NFL season. We know that FanDuel is always going to be looking out for you. And as I mentioned, while I was probably muted because my microphone wasn't working, so I'll remind you that if you are a new customer to FanDuel, you can head over to FanDuel.com, and when you place a bet of $5 or more, you will get $150 in bonus bets if that first bet wins. FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place your live bets on the National Football League all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more right on the same page where you place your bets. So you'll get started with that $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel. Thanks as always for making Locked On Kraken a part of your daily destination. We're trying something new. Haven't gone live in a while, and I'm definitely a little rusty. But we talked about rust, Zaiem, and maybe I'm having my Philip Grubauer moment here today live. But that's okay, because you can play the Joey Decord to my Philip Grubauer today. Thank you so much, picking up the slack here. But I want to talk about Andre Burakovsky first. Let's talk about him. Didn't know. And he might not have, quite honestly, slotted into today's game if not for that Yanni Gourde injury that I mentioned. I'm going to be honest, Zaiem, and I don't know what you feel about this, but I've kind of been okay with the lines. I'm not saying that I don't want Andre Burakovsky, but I am saying that I do want the lines that we've seen in the last few games. What's your take on this? And is there a world in where or in which Andre Burakovsky can come back into the lineup and we still see the success that we've seen offensively?
I mean, everyone who's been healthy scratched has come back and responded extremely well. So Burakovsky, he was turning the puck over, which has always been kind of his biggest problem, but it's been particularly bad. And he just hasn't had that tenacity that people, that we've been talking about. And I think Bylsma has noticed the effort, and he said, okay, you know what? I'm not afraid to healthy scratch a veteran if I need to. I don't know if how much of this is necessity from the injury. Coach Bylsma lies sometimes, like more than Haxtell did. So when the night that Vince Dunn got hurt, he was like, "Oh, it was like a maintenance thing. I forget what it was." But he was like, "It was like, oh, it was kind of a day-to-day thing." And then Vince Dunn missed, like 10 million games, or so it felt. And so when Bylsma says Yanni, he is. So I don't trust him when he says that this is a maintenance thing for Yanni Gourde. It may be, it may not be. I'm just saying that with Haxtell, you could take it at face value. If he said something, then you could believe it. He just wouldn't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
But
right,
Bylsma will say things, but I don't think he's necessarily telling the truth with the injury stuff. So that said, maybe this is a necessity thing. Maybe Yanni can't go, right, and Burakovsky is in, and maybe he is hasn't shown the changes that Bylsma is trying to elicit by benching him in the first place. We don't know, and we're not going to know until we see tonight. But I'm very, very interested, because pre-scratch Shane Wright versus post-scratch Shane Wright is a different player. And then pre- and post-scratch Bjorkstrand is a different player. Now we have pre- and post-scratch Burakovsky.
Or will we?
Or will we?
Right.
And, or is it just the curse of every single player that the Kraken have acquired from Colorado has been... It just has not worked out. Jonas Donskoy had the inaugural year where he just could not score a goal to save his life.
Your boy.
I know. And then he retired. Philip Grubauer, the free agency, obviously talked about that. Andre Burakovsky, Pierre-Edouard Bellemare broke his leg and he missed for right. And so I think Ben Myers is the last hope to not be a kind of a disaster. So I don't know. Maybe Cale Makar used some weird voodoo and has cursed the franchise when trying to get Colorado. I don't know, but I would really, really like to see Burakovsky, because there's just so much money tied up with him and Grubauer, and if they're not performing, then this team already has salary cap issues and
I know. There's a lot going on. I think you're right. I think Dan Bylsma definitely likes playing with us in the media more than his predecessor in Dave Haxtell. I was looking up as you were talking because I had my Otter working. Excuse me. And so the amazing Darren Brown is here. So is Scott. I didn't know Scott was going to be here. That was an exciting surprise. Anyway, so Darren asks the follow-up with Yanni Gourde. So does he think this is going to be long term? And he says it probably the main reason is because they do have the day off. Again, it is a back-to-back, and he doesn't want it to turn into a long-term thing. So that's non-committal. That's non-committal, somewhere in the middle. It could, Yanni is a freaking, I don't even know. He's like a Humvee of a man, if he can play in any stretch of that, he's going to play. So I do think that this is more of a maintenance. Let's just shut it down. We have the extra day. Again, talking to some people that are on the Seattle Kraken beat, it seems like there's a feeling that yesterday was the must-win game, not tonight's game. I find that kind of interesting. Let's stop there, Zaiem, because I never would have thought that between these two games on a back-to-back that we would say the Islanders is the must-win game, or the game that we throw everything in to win versus trying to win against the Devils. I guess it's maybe saying that you think your odds are better against the Islanders, which I would agree with, and you don't want to lose to the Islanders, which I would also agree with. We had a 3-2 win earlier, but I don't know. That just seems like a little bit of a loser mentality. Is that a little harsh to say? What are your thoughts on that?
As a game theorist, I like it a lot. If you look at this back to back and you say that the chances are we're going to lose at least one of those. And so then you say, okay, well, we want to focus on winning one. Well, which one is the easier one to focus on? Is it the one against the team that's kind of hurting, or is it one of the best teams in the league with like a lethal power play? And so, because it 2 points is 2 points, and it's not like they're in the division. The opponent doesn't matter at all in that regard. So you're looking at, okay, between the Islanders and the Devils, we really would like to get 2 points out of this. Which team is easier to target to extract those 2 points? And that's clearly the Islanders. And so I think that's just the smart play.
Yeah, I guess I see it that way. I don't like conceding to losses, but also, the Kraken haven't necessarily earned the benefit of the doubt necessarily. The last two games perhaps being outliers. So that's interesting. Okay, so no Yanni Gourde, Andre Burakovsky. I also asked Dan Bylsma about Vince Dunn. Now, if you were able to listen to all of Oliver Bjorkstrand's post-game media, I know the Seattle Kraken's not posting at all, and again, I'm on the road, I should say, so I don't have the clip for you, or I don't want to play the full clip right now and then have to kind of skim through it. But Oliver Bjorkstrand just really felt that the power play, he was asked about Shane Wright, but also was able to talk about, and so did Dan Bylsma a little bit, about Vince Dunn on the power play. And so I followed up today asking Dan Bylsma about what he's seen from a leadership perspective when it comes to Vince Dunn. And the way I'll summarize, and I'll have the full quote and the audio clip up later, but what I really liked is that he's saying that, Vince Dunn is a competitor. He wants to win, and he brings that to every aspect of the game. And I do think that, and I've said this on the last handful of shows, Zaiem, the energy for this Seattle Kraken team is night and day now that Vince Dunn not only is back, but that he's feeling more in pace and in line with what his, full complete game package is. And what have been your observations since Vince Dunn has been back in the fold?
He's like a force multiplier for the entire team. It's crazy how much better the Kraken are with Vince Dunn. And I don't really understand how, a defenseman who, who he's not Cale Makar. He's not, Adam Fox. He's not of that caliber, but the effect on the team is that it's more. He's like, he's like, so, and everything just works better. The stretch passes, exiting the zone, the defense, and then obviously the power play. It is just crazy. It is bonkers how much better the Kraken look when he's on the ice. If he hadn't gotten injured last year, I really do think the Kraken had a really, really good shot at making the playoffs. They went like 2-12-2 or something without him down the stretch last year. And so when he it's just, he's incredible. Somehow,
So good.
I don't know if he's the best defenseman on the team, which is a ridiculous thing to say.
Yeah.
But that says a lot more about Brandon Montour than Vince Dunn. Like the fact that he's not necessarily the slam dunk best defenseman on the team makes my head ache in a good way. But it is just so nice to have him back. Everything, he just lubricates the whole engine. Vince Dunn is the truth. He's the straw that stirs the drink.
He's that guy. Yeah.
He is that guy.
He is that guy for the Seattle Kraken. It's undisputable. I agree with you also. I don't think he's the best defenseman. And I've been teasing this on Locked on Kraken lately. I think he kind of feels some kind of way that Brandon Montour has been getting accolades. And in not like a super envious way, but a like, whoa. This is my team. Like, I was here first kind of vibe. And I think he's finding a way to impact the complete game, to your point. And I hope what we continue to see is then just letting Brandon Montour again be that guy defensively and let Vince be the guy. But this is what just to go back to what Dan Bylsma said, he looks to make plays. That was, I think, my favorite quote. He's a confident puck playing, puck moving guy. He's a guy who's going to look to make a play, and that mentality is something that he's brought to the group. And again, Dan Bylsma saying that is what has been missing, not just from the team. We know that it's been missing from the team, Zaiem, but specifically on the power play. So I agree with you. I don't think that the power play improves without Shane Wright, but I also don't think it improves without the return of Vince Dunn.
Yeah, it is really, really great to have him back on the power play, just setting up those shots for the tip-ins, and I could go on for the next 30 minutes about how wonderful Vince Dunn is, but the Kraken do have to play a game, so
I know they got to play a game soon here. Just to go back to what Striatic is saying, I agree with you. I think I've alluded to this in the last handful of episodes. The demeanor, like his energy, that's been something that I honestly was a little bit surprised. I wasn't anticipating for Vince Dunn to be such an arbiter, right, of this positive, enthusiastic, just really contagious energy. Like there's been so much good energy, Zaiem, around this team. And it again aligns with Vince Dunn, not just getting back to the lineup, but feeling his timing come back, feeling his ability to execute and to impact the game come back. But we have a game. Puck drop is going to happen soon. I've got to hopefully catch the elevator on a good time. The elevator here is never rely on the elevator, but thankfully no more boot for me, Zaiem, no more cane. I'm wearing 2 regular shoes, so I can I can run around the rock if I have to, which is what I will do. But we're going to close out today's episode with our keys to the game. So I like to remix things here, Locked On listeners, so we're going to do this, Zaiem. The Seattle Kraken will win tonight's game against the New Jersey Devils. We'll get to that coming up on today's episode of Locked on Kraken. And guess who found her graphics? Me. Oh, man. Thanks as always for making Locked on Kraken a part of your daily destination. Erica L. Ayala here. You can tell this is a live show, but hey, we rock with it because we hold fast, we stay true. But I'll get to that a little bit later. All right, Zaiem, big game tonight. An opportunity to get a little bit of a streak going here. We haven't really seen a winning streak since that home stretch, of course, for the Seattle Kraken. We talked a little bit about that Islanders game, critical to get, and it's a winnable game. So put everything into winning that game. I also like what Striatic said, that for morale, probably getting that game against the Islanders, huge, especially the way they were able to win that game.
Stratic says a lot of smart things. He always has. 4 years now I've been reading his things, and it's just everything he says is smart.
Agreed. Highly agreed there. And, I think it was also interesting to hear Vince Dunn, Oliver Bjorkstrand, even Dan Bylsma after last night's game say, there was a time where Dan Bylsma said he was thinking about calling a timeout. But again, to what we just talked about in the last segment, the energy was good. The guys on the bench were like, no, we got this. We can close this game down. It's been a while, I think, Zaiem, since we could say that. So I do think there's something to what Striatic was saying about, having that momentum. I know, the Disco Dan era, maybe we believe more in momentum than we did in the Dave Haxtell era. But I do think there's something to that. So we've got a little bit of a different cast of characters today. We've got some guys coming back. We have Philip Grubauer. So we never know what kind of offense we're going to get, statistically speaking. So let's just focus on what the Seattle Kraken can control. Zaiem, for you, the Seattle Kraken win tonight at Prudential Center against the New Jersey Devils if
they stay out of the penalty box.
Ooh.
The Devils have the top power play in the league at 34.5%, which is far and away the best. Winnipeg is second at 30%. That 4.5% is huge. It's like the difference between second and like sixth or so. So stay out of the penalty box first and foremost. Second, keep fighting. Just keep going in with that underdog mentality, because they are underdogs, that's for sure. And go in and win those puck battles. What they did to Carolina was a masterpiece. That team, especially that team that lives off of spamming 10 million trillion low percentage shots.
7 shots in the first 2 frames.
It was like, it was crazy. Like, of all the teams, it was awesome. It was like, I think it may be my single favorite Kraken defensive performance ever.
Oh, good
I
defense.
was just like,
I love it. I love it.
And then against the Islanders, they just dominate with the puck possession. And so, I want to see what they have. But yeah, stay out on the penalty box, play 5-on-5, and then let's see what the post Vince Dunn Kraken look like. Because generally, when Vince Dunn is in the lineup, the Kraken are actually kind of a pretty good team. Historically, have been.
Yeah,
so,
they're kind of a big deal.
Yeah, so maybe score more than 0 goals for Philip Grubauer. That would be better than 3 of his 7 starts already.
Ooh.
So,
pain.
Yeah. Stars, Senators, Rangers, all 2-0 or 3-0 shutouts. So, those not that goal anyway. So, and then just don't be stupid. Just play smart, stay out of the box, and don't be stupid. And I think that the Kraken are live to win this game, and we're going to be talking about Philip Grubauer in that, made that incredible save in the third period to win the game 3-2. And so I'm calling it. You know what? Call it shot. Kraken win this game 3-2 in regulation.
In regulation, and I love this comment also. Yanni being out of the lineup might help the Kraken stay out of the box. That's hilarious. Okay, the Seattle Kraken will win tonight against the New Jersey Devils if they are able to eliminate rush chances. I saw a graphic as I was sitting here watching NHL. I believe it was NHL.com, and they had the top 5 teams in rush chances, all scenarios. And the Devils were tied for basically third place with 23 some odd chances. And that's transition game. And how is a team good at transition game? It's exactly what the Seattle Kraken don't really do consistently. Winning the board battles, winning the 50-50 pucks, being smart with getting the puck out of the defensive zone. We've had difficulty there. We sometimes get lackadaisical, and we are puck watching instead of, closing down passing seams and getting sticks in the way, getting body to body. And so I want to see the Seattle Kraken be able to play a defensively sound game. I do think that we have that capability. If we take what we saw against the Hurricanes defensively, if we take what we saw from against the Islanders offensively, and we just blend that up into a nice little Seattle Kraken smoothie, I think, we're going to have so many great nutrients for this game, and I'm with you. We win. So that's what I want to see. Just put it in a blender, baby. Take that shot and hit the ice. Take that wheatgrass shot and hit the ice.
That sounds like a playoff team to me, which Money Puck has the Kraken at like 63% to make the playoffs now, which is crazy. So you know what? Let's just go. The vibes are good. Vince Dunn is back. Berkey's back from being scratched. He's gonna go Super Saiyan like everybody else.
That's it.
You know what? I'm in.
Yeah, let's go. Someone predicted a Berkey hat trick. You know what? I wouldn't be mad. I might even throw my beret. I'd throw my beret down for that. Let's go. Well, we've got a game to get to, Zaiem, here in New Jersey, just moments away here from puck drop. And thank you so much for rocking with me. We were like, hey, why don't we just go live? Like, what's the worst that could happen? My mic might not work for like the first 3 minutes, but it's fine. But I'm glad we were able to do this. I'm glad we were able to get in our weekly recording, especially with the holiday and all of the travel between you and I. But Zaiem, let us know where they can find you and your crew, because we should have some reporting from Davy Jones' locker room also live from this West Coast, or excuse me, hello, this is not the West Coast. This is the opposite of the West Coast, also known as the East Coast. Where can they find some good boots on the ground reporting from this East Coast tilt for the Kraken?
Well, so one of our great writers, M. Rupp, is on site. That is also true for the Islanders and Rangers games, so they're out for the whole East Coast trip. We have a new podcast called the Cephalopod. Sky is bringing his knowledge and his broadcast experience to a podcast. You can find it on YouTube. You can also find it wherever you find your podcasts. That's our big thing. So we just had our first episode. And it's not a very positive episode because it was recorded after the Sharks game. But the next one, hopefully, will be really good. But I'm really, really excited about it. Sky does really, really good work. He is a super smart person, and not enough people know his stuff. So check out the Cephalopod. I also love the name. And that was like 40% of why I wanted to set up a podcast in the first place. And you can visit us at davyjoneslockerroom.com, where we do provide all comprehensive coverage, written coverage about the Seattle Kraken.
I love it. And of course, you can find Locked on Kraken on YouTube, on everywhere you listen to audio podcasts, including Sirius XM. That's where I've been listening to Al and Everett call the game. But I might be able to be right in earshot and listen to them live on site. So I'll probably take that up here and at MSG. But for Zaiem Beg, I am Erica L. Ayala. And make sure you stay tuned on YouTube, because I will have a report post-game from tonight's game as well. But be kind to yourself. Be kind to one another. And hey, we made some bold predictions tonight. So the only thing left to do now is to hold fast, stay true. And of course, loud and proud, we say always, let's go Kraken. We'll catch you on the next episode. Have a great weekend, everybody. Peace out.